Guess who's back? Back again. Behind me is the Lancefield goods yard. After the last episode, which unfortunately had some terrible wind noise, some new technology had to be introduced to hopefully improve production values. This is the Lancefield Junction to Lancefield line, which was closed in August of 1956. Around behind me is the location of the former Lancefield town platform behind the Lancefield Antique Centre. This platform was located approximately 600 metres in the down direction from the Lancefield station proper, as the original station was deemed too far from the town centre for people to walk. As shown in the last video, this is the Lancefield station, where it still remains in good condition. It was formerly a bed and breakfast establishment, although it seems to be closed currently. This included turntable, station yards and docking for rail motors. Trains coming from Melbourne came around the left side of the hill, across Cemetery Road, where all of the pine trees are, through this paddock, across McNutt's Lane, on this side of these trees and poplars, down through what is now private property. And it may be a little difficult to see, just to the left of the greenhouses there is a small cutting that the train passed through while turning around to the left before entering the Lancefield station district. Between McNutt's Lane, the line crossed through open farmland on a low embankment, then until it parallels Macintosh Lane here and this fence line on private property, crossing over Cemetery Lane and towards the Lancefield Racetrack. After coming from Cemetery Road and passing through the stand of trees in the distance, the line swung around and entered into here, just ahead of the racetrack. Located here, just behind this stand of pine trees, was the Lancefield Racetrack station. Presumably it would have been opened for when race meetings were on. It appears now that the racetrack is also privately owned. From Graham's Road, the line parallels Tikawara Road on a low embankment and through some small cuttings. It's quite evident where the line used to be, and it passes over Forbes Road, continuing along Tikawara Road approximately to Romsey. From a cutting in the Romsey direction, across an embankment, the remnants of a small trestle bridge, further embankment works back up towards the top of the hill. Around here somewhere is believed to have been Tikawara siding. No evidence or documentation appears to remain as to where exactly it was or what its purpose was. However, it is believed to have been somewhere along the Tikawara road. Heading towards Melbourne, the train swung away from Tikawara Road, curved around this slight hill, rising up grade, along this diagonal fence line in the middle distance, towards the farm shed, and crossing Hutchinson's Lane into the Romsey township. The railway line, after crossing Hutchinson's Lane, passes through what are now houses to the top end of Bentley Court, and then appears to parallel this walking path to the bottom of Palmer Street. It appears that the railway line followed this orientation into town to what is now the CFA depot. At the end of Palmer Street, in amongst the creek debris, there appears to be pieces of concrete and other materials that may have been utilised in bridge construction. There appears to be a cleared path for which the railway line could have proceeded in this direction. It would have been somewhere around this area, heading towards Murphy Street. The railway line came approximately through here where these newer estates are built, across Murphy Street near Glen Mews, and through where these newer houses have now been built, heading towards the back of the CFA branch. From Murphy Street to Stall Street, the train line came across here. The CFA branch now sits on the railway land. An observation around the state is that the CFA often occupies former railway properties to place their branches on. It crossed over here and somewhere where this hedge was. The older houses in the street imply that they've been here for a considerable time and were probably here when the railway line existed. The railway line then crossed the Romsey Wallen Road here and entered the Romsey railway station and yard. This is now occupied by the Lions Senior Citizens Village. Someone has thoughtfully placed the old crossing gates and level crossing sign as a memorial to the railway line that once was. On one side is Railway Crescent, and on the other side, Station Street. From Macintosh Terrace, the railway line, after leaving the Romsey station, paralleled Station Street along through what is now this park or Lions Reserve, over White Avenue, and continued out of town. After leaving Romsey, the railway line parallels the Lancefield Road and is quite evident running next to the roadway. The small hamlet of Monegeetta North. Coming from Romsey, this is where Monegeetta North station would have sat. The line then continued on towards Monegeetta. After crossing Black Range Road, the line starts to veer away from the Lancefield Road onto a slight embankment, one of the very few pieces of earthworks that appears evident on the line, and veers away from the road, heading towards Monegeetta Station. The railway line crossed the Chinton Road here and entered the Monegeetta Station area. It then crossed over the Lancefield Road to the other side, where it is still quite visible. Once departing Monegeetta Station, the railway line crossed the Lancefield Road once again to the other side, heading towards Bolinda Station. Looking towards Monegeetta, the railway line paralleled the Lancefield Road to the Bolinda Station. It then crossed Mullally Road and continued on down towards the Bolinda Creek trestle bridge. After leaving the Bolinda Station, the railway line veers away from the Lancefield Road slightly, over the remnants of a small trestle bridge, across the Riddles Creek Road, and then continues on a low embankment towards the Bolinda Creek trestle. The Bolinda Creek trestle bridge, the largest piece of infrastructure on the Lancefield line, or what remains of it. In 1956, this was given as the reason for the line's closure due to the expense of the works required on the bridge. Ironically, just under 70 years later, it's still standing. It may not have tolerated trains running over it for those 70 years, however, it is still there. The line then continues on towards Lancefield Junction, or Clarkfield as it is now known. After leaving the Bolinda Creek trestle bridge, the train proceeded upgrade for a short distance, curved around behind this small hillock, across this little culvert and embankment, through what is now a stand of pine trees, and into the Lancefield Junction station. It isn't difficult to imagine a small Walker rail car motoring off into the distance towards the mountains beyond, or, in this common era, a velocity rail car perhaps. the small pathway between pine trees, heading towards Lancefield Junction. The line passed through this small cutting, then paralleled the main line up to the Lancefield Junction station. Where the branch line ended in a dock platform. The line from Lancefield entered here into a dead-end platform which has now been covered by the car park. There was no direct connection from Melbourne to Lancefield line, therefore trains had to continue towards Bendigo, then return back on the Melbourne line and then onto the Lancefield line from there. This station was opened in 1862 as Lancefield Road due to its proximity to the then Lancefield Road. The name was changed in 1881 to Lancefield Junction with the formation of the junction to Lancefield, and in 1924 it was renamed as Clarkfield after a prominent member of the community from the area. It is still in operation today on the Melbourne to Bendigo and Swan Hill lines. This concludes the journey from Lancefield to Lancefield Junction. So until next time, bye.